Triangle to Win is on Patreon. Follow the link you see on the screen to find out how to support the show. This is Triangle to Win, a gaming podcast with a focus on all things PlayStation RPGs, a veritable match made in heaven. The aforementioned combo has given us historic games such as Final Fantasy VII and my personal favorite, Kingdom Hearts. I am your host, Karlobster, and it's time to press Triangle to Win. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Triangle to Win. It is I, Karlobster, and welcome to the fourth episode. Wait, fourth? Third? Fourth episode, because the third episode was in Japan, and now the fourth episode is back here at home, back in the studio, the recording / streaming studio that I have, and I came home here greeted by something unfortunate, is that a bunch of my acoustic foam fell down to the floor, so I need to start putting them up again, start putting all the double-sided tape on it again. It's gonna be the awful thing about this process is that I need to move like my setup away from the walls so I can like get a ladder up there and stick them onto the walls and stuff. And it's a very, very tedious process, but I might do it maybe soon, maybe next week. I don't know. Maybe not now. Not for now. A lot of things are still going on. Still kind of settling down again from being in Japan for like 16 days. And I might need to go back depending on what happens, what's going on. My friggin' thing, I kind of want to burp, but I also kind of don't want to. So I'm kind of just doing that. But hey, I'm glad to be back. It's a bit hot. It's not a bit hotter. It's way too hot here. It was like 40 degrees, like heat index of 40 degrees Celsius, not Fahrenheit. And basically, the moment I stepped in here, I felt like I was gonna become sick. But fortunately, I wasn't sick. I didn't become sick. And I think that's also because when I was in Japan, I just really wear like a mask everywhere I go. Because now is a pretty crazy time for tourists, for tourism, I guess, in Japan because of the winter and because of the cherry blossoms that are blooming around this time, maybe last week or around this week, probably. There's going to be a lot of tourists there, and I was like, if there are going to be a lot of people from different places, then who knows who is sick and who isn't. So I really just wore my mask throughout any time that I was outside, anytime I was with anyone within my vicinity. Of course, I removed the mask when I was alone, just walking in the street with the open air. That's fine. But when I was in close quarters with other people inside maybe a ramen shop, however, I still needed to remove my mask when I ate my ramen or whatever it is I was eating there because the food there is so goddamn good. I just wear my mask whenever possible. So that's great. I didn't really become sick. I was so expecting to become sick at any point, being there or after, but it didn't happen. And I think now I'm pretty much recovered from, the post-travel fatigue that you experience, and I feel pretty energized. Yeah, I feel pretty good. So we're going to be continuing our Triangle to Win podcast, of course, every week, every second week. Every other week. It's biweekly. If it's your first time listening, it is I, Karlobster, your host. I stream over on twitch.tv/Karlobster. Not too much these days, but I think I'll be able to get that back up again soon. It's because of my Japan trip and so many things going on. I couldn't really keep that up, but I will hopefully at least do one stream a week going forward, and that's where I'm going to stream it. Stream my games when I can. I'm not going to be finishing games. I'm not going to be like doing a full playthrough of games and stuff like that. I'm just going to be playing things that, I'm probably currently playing. Let's say Monster Hunter Wilds, right, which we're going to talk about later. Maybe in the future, Atelier Yumia, we're going to do a little playthrough of that just to see, where we are. Maybe I'm 30 hours in already, and I'm just, let me stream it. And I'll probably do that. Stuff here, stuff like that. As for this podcast, I still plan on recording the spoiler casts for Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I might do one for Monster Hunter Wilds, honestly, once I get more into the game, like more in-depth into the game. And I do want to play Atelier Yumia. I do want to do that as well. I also want to play like Pirate Yakuza, Hawaii, whatever that game's name is, and so many other games. And we'll just take it one by one because these guys are all long games that I want to play. Xenoblade Chronicles X as well. Even if I already played the Wii U version, yeah. But by the way, I have been slowly like unearthing my games from previous generation consoles, like slowly just coming upon them here at home, here at my parents' house, and just uncovering like little boxes here and there with a bunch of games and a bunch of things that I bought, like gaming paraphernalia and maybe some collector's editions here and there. And it's been a treat. Honestly, it's been pretty fun. I have unearthed most of my PlayStation 4 games, and apparently I bought a lot of PlayStation 4 games. However, I did buy a lot of PlayStation 3 games. Like a lot. There's a lot. And I told you guys before that I have a shelf here for which I can display stuff. And it's so much that I don't think this shelf can even display everything. I'm discovering that I have a bunch of PS4 games. Then also, I'm discovering I have a bunch of Blu-rays as well, a bunch of DVDs and VHS tapes. And the VHS tapes are kind of very space occupying. They take like the space of like 3 DVDs or something. But it's been cool. I'm actually looking at my collection right now, and I have, for my PS5 games, I don't have too many PS5 games because some of them I've been buying digitally because digital is more of a thing these days, especially the indie games that don't really release physically. And also, I hate the fact that just physical games these days don't have like the manuals and all the nice freebies in them. But I do try and get physical copies of games I really, really like as much as I can. Even if I don't plan on replaying them, I just want to own them. And now that I'm looking at my collection that's straight up right in front of me, I'm like, damn, I wish I could have bought a bunch more. Because that's the thing about these physical games is that in the moment, they feel kind of stupid to own. I feel kind of stupid to own, buy them because you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna be playing this once and I don't really need to play it again. Might as well just get it digitally. But then I'm like, nah, but I also kind of want to own it. Like own it. Like have it with me. And the time that you buy the physical game is probably a time where you feel most like, it's probably not worth it to have to buy it because sometimes I need to wait for it to become in stock or something. Because at least the place where I'm in, they don't get like physical games day one because I don't live in the city. I live in the province, right? The province is some province here in the Philippines. And we don't usually just get new games day one in stores. Sometimes it takes like a week, sometimes a few days, sometimes not at all. And during those times, I need to order online to get them. And even if I do order online, they don't really do like day one deliveries. So the game will release and then they'll deliver it after the release of the game. So it still takes like 2 or 3 days of waiting for physical games. And sometimes I really just want to be there day one, to stream it or, to do something about it, to do something with it on day one. But yeah, I'm looking at my games here. I'm pretty okay with my PS5 collection, but my PS4 collection is pretty cool. I'm looking at it. I apparently have a bunch of copies of Kingdom Hearts. A bunch of different copies of Kingdom Hearts games up to 2.8. 2.8, Remind. Wait, Remind. No, I don't have. This isn't Remind. This is just Melody of Memory. Then, it's cool to see I have a Nier Automata. It's cool to see I have Gravity Rush, right? It's cool to see that I even have the PlayStation VR games like Riggs, Mechanized Combat League. I have PlayStation VR Worlds. I have like a special edition of Final Fantasy 15. Then I also have, let's see, Ni no Kuni 2. I also have the Steelbook edition of Final Fantasy Type 0, which is cool as heck. It's gold. Also the special edition of Death Stranding. I love those games so much. Then I'm looking at my PlayStation 3 collection, and that's where it's at, the PlayStation 3 collection. Because that was a time when digital wasn't truly still as big as it is today, it's mostly still physical games. So I had a lot of physical games, and during that time, physical games is just way cheaper. Like you can get a cheap special edition of the physical game with a steel book and everything for cheaper than if you bought it digitally. So I have a lot of steel book editions of games. Like what is here? What is that? I don't even know what that is. It's too far. What is that? The Last of Us? Damn, The Last of Us was PlayStation 3. Right. Metal Gear Solid 4, Resident Evil 4. Wait, that's PS4. Final Fantasy 13, 13-2. I even have Mag. Remember that game? Mag? I think that was like 512 players or 256 players, something like that. Like online multiplayer. 256 players or 512. Not sure. I have Eternal Sonata. And you know what's crazy? I have Folklore. Now that's a game. That was a PlayStation 3 launch game. Folklore that had you kind of suck spirits or something. Like folklore entities from monsters by actually pulling the DualShock 3 controller like backwards. That was pretty cool. I have stuff like Infamous. What else is there? Of course, Kingdom Hearts HD 1.5. Tales of Graces F. Ni no Kuni 1. Tales of Xillia. I have like a steelbook special edition of Tales of Xillia. Damn, that's cool. I don't see those these days. I don't see that anymore these days for PS5 games. I don't know what's going on. Like steelbook editions. I want more of those. Or like these games that are in boxes. That's cool. Then I also have like a little collection of books here. I still have to unearth my PS2 games. I don't know where I have them, but I do have a copy here of Resident Evil 4 for PlayStation 2 that's just lying here. Then I have some books here like Dune, Mistborn, the prequel, and the actual Mistborn books. Then I have some Blu-ray discs of Star Wars, Spider-Man, Game of Thrones, Wizard of Oz, apparently. Then some DVDs. What is this? Vin Diesel, The Pacifier. Cool. Full Metal Alchemist box set. Then I have VHSs here of Sound of Music, Indiana Jones. Only You? I don't know what that. Power Rangers, Turbo something. Speed. Bruh. These are good. I have Digimon. I have a Digimon VHS. That's so good. But yeah, hopefully I can find more of these games that I've totally forgotten about. I even have the Final Fantasy 13 trial set of Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children Complete Edition, which is the version of Final Fantasy 7 Advent Children which has the additional scenes and everything, and it comes with a demo for Final Fantasy 13. Because if you remember back in the PS3 days when Final Fantasy 13 versus 13 and Agito were a thing within the Fabula Nova Crystallis universe, Final Fantasy 13 really took its sweet damn time to come out. That, I just had to buy anything related to 13 and all. And that includes this trial set bundled with Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, as well as the Final Fantasy 13 like soundtrack. The soundtrack came out before the game came out. I was like, what? Huh. Really? I have it. It's a really nice white box, Final Fantasy 13. It's like a bunch of discs with a bunch of songs. It's really cool. Then I also have like my Wii U is also displayed here. I have Xenoblade Chronicles X and Super Smash Bros. And I actually have more games for my Wii U. I just can't find them. I remember I had the Mario game. It's one of those classic Mario side scrollers, but in 3D. I don't know what that is. I also have like Mario Kart. And I have one more. I kind of forgot what it is. What was it? I don't know. I also have my Wii here. It's still in the box. I should find a place for it to display it. I'm not gonna use them anymore, so they're just more for display. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm loving this But that's the thing about physical games, is that when you first buy them, they feel kind of useless. But 10 years later down the line, you know, you look upon them and you're like, wow, I was there. Whoa, I was in it. These are games I've played. I remember that day I bought this game at the store, was looking at the front and the back like covers, and then I went to the cashier and bought it and was looking forward to playing it when I got home. Ah, that was a time. That was a time. Now it just takes like 2 clicks for you to buy games, and especially now that you have like a credit card and stuff like that, it doesn't feel as special anymore. Sometimes games feel like work to me at some point, because quite literally they are with my streaming thing. But I do miss buying physical games. I might just go ahead and buy some games that I feel like are missing from my collection, especially my PS3 collection. Like, for example, I have Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2, but I don't have Lightning Returns because I've never played Lightning Returns, and now the option for me to buy it on Steam is there, but I kind of just want to complete the collection and buy it on PS3, right? Stuff like that. I want to complete the collections. Okay. All right. Anyway, bro, I have 2 copies of Final Fantasy 15. I have the special edition, the limited special edition, and the normal edition. What the hell? My spending habits were out of whack. But welcome to Triangle to Win, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. And you can support the podcast by going to the Patreon, which is patreon.com/triangle to win. There are 2 tiers that you can subscribe to, which the first tier is $1, which is just a support tier, honestly. And $5 is the main tier, where you get the access to the episodes like 3 days before everyone else, the audio for the episode 3 days before everyone else. Plus, you get the audio and the video. You know, I post about the video. Though the video does come out on YouTube publicly 3 days later than the Patreon audio. So if you're into that, then coolio. Now, today's episode might be a bit short because there is honestly very few news. This is probably the weeks where like, wow, there's nothing happened in 2 weeks. Not a lot. Not anything too interesting, I think. There have been a bunch of game reveals, not really game reveals. Game reveals, yes, but also game trailers that showed up this past 2 weeks that are very interesting. But they're not news, though. They're kind of news, but we're still going to talk about them. But, they're not like, a state of play that we had like last week, right? But I think we should go on with the news and see where what happens. Okay. Now, first up, let me put a marker here, actually, on my Reaper while it's recording. Okay. There, marker. Okay, first up on the news. Very small news item. Via Video Games Chronicle, PS5, a limited edition, The Last of Us Dualsense is being released next month. Pre-orders for the controller start next week. So, the controller will be released on April 10 and is a collaboration between, PlayStation DualSense controllers and The Last of Us Part 2 remastered on PC, as well as the second season of The Last of Us on HBO. It's not really much of a collaboration. It's just, it's related to that most recently, which is honestly kind of weird because controllers usually release like when a new game releases. But in this case, they just, here's a new Last of Us controller. That's out of the blue. The controller features glossy trophy icons printed across the surface that call back to key moments, characters, and events from Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2. And honestly, I don't like the look of it. I'm sorry. I love The Last of Us. I love my DualSense controllers. Recently in Japan, I got the purple colorway, like the purple galaxy type of colorway for the DualSense, and it looks really, really good, except for the fact that it's too purple. It's too purple. The sticks are purple. Everything's purple. And I like the kind of galaxy-ish look of the top part of the controller, but the plasticky part on the bottom, which is just purple, not really too much. But I still really like it. But this one, I don't think I like this one as much. So if you haven't seen it, it's basically a black and white colorway where the top part of the DualSense is black and features like a bunch of emblems, a bunch of different emblems and something like that. And some of them are just black, kind of embedded into the plastic or whatever. And some of these emblems are color white. They're like 3 white emblems in between all the black emblems. And they're just kind of randomly, haphazardly plastered all around the controller. And there's a Firefly logo in the middle where the touchpad is, and it's rotated to the side, and it's also off center, and then the white logo to the left is also lower than the logo to the right. And I'm like, not really into that. And the bottom of the controller is white as well, including the thumbsticks. And maybe the thumbstick should have been black. Maybe the thumbstick should always be like a dark color, because I don't. You know what happens to white after using it for a while, right? It becomes kind of icky. But yeah, DualSense Last of Us controller out of the blue, pretty cool. If you want it, get it if you want. I definitely won't. I already have my purple Galaxy colorway controller. That's really, really cool. But there it is. For the first use, very small first use. I know. But next one, also from Video Games Chronicle, Forza Horizon 5's PlayStation debut comes with a surprising catch. So here's the thing about Forza Horizon 5 is that Forza is primarily a Microsoft / Xbox IP. And it's one of those Xbox games that are making the transition and also releasing on PlayStation 5. And Forza Horizon specifically is, although not a direct contender, it is, in the same space as Gran Turismo, which is a PlayStation exclusive, PlayStation Studio made racing game. So it's kind of in direct competition with that, which is kind of funny to think about now that it's also on PlayStation. But I think Forza Horizon 5 is more quote unquote arcadey. I think it's more like an open world racing game, whatever that means. I'm not really super interested in it. But one thing interesting here about this article is it says that when Forza Horizon 5 arrives on PlayStation, it will require a Microsoft account to play. It's been revealed. So the game, which will be cross-play on all platforms and contain all the content from both the Xbox and PC versions of the game, will require an extra account linking process from PlayStation players. So as pointed out by Does It Play, a newly published FAQ confirms that the game, which will mark the debut of the series on PlayStation platforms, will require the player to have both a PSN account and a Microsoft account on PS5. Players will be prompted to do this when they start the game on their console. There will be no way around this, as the game is only being released digitally, meaning there is no way to play it on PlayStation without going through the step. Now, this is basically the same thing that a lot of publishers do, where, for example, in GTA, they require you to make a Rockstar account. For other games, they require you to make an Ubisoft account or an EA account, stuff like that. And this is the new thing, I guess, for these Microsoft / Xbox games that are going to PlayStation that probably have an online functionality. They will now require you to log in both to PSN and have a Microsoft account, which is pretty interesting. Now, what Does It Play points out is that this has implications for the preservation of the game, as now not only does it rely on the PlayStation Network being alive and active indefinitely to verify the ownership of the game, but it also requires Microsoft to maintain its account system. This also allows both parties to revoke or end service on the game without any physical recourse. And that's the main issue of this article here. And what Does It Play says is the game's preservation and the possibility that if any of these services go down or close or, become extinct in the future, then you won't be able to play your Forza Horizon game, which is true. And I see why that's a problem. I don't think this is releasing on physical. I don't think so. But even if it is, it's online. And yeah, that's a big problem with these online games, or these games that are, you can play offline maybe, but you need to have like an online DRM authentication verification thing in order to actually play it. And that's a big problem, honestly. There is a lot of games that do that. This is not a singular case for games that are on PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo for that matter. Wait, Nintendo, I'm not quite sure about Nintendo. But either way, you still need to like sign into a Nintendo account sometimes, especially for games with online functionality. But I think, yeah, you can just play a game on Nintendo, even like a Switch, even without like logging into anything. Okay. But this is a problem. I agree. Especially with this all digital future that we are, all digital and all internet connected future that we're in. And this having two places to kind of fail is an issue. Yeah, I see it. I see it. Although for me, not really into Forza Horizon 5. And honestly, PlayStation might still be here for a long time, but who knows? Anything can happen. Microsoft, we do know that the Xbox is probably going away in the future. But Microsoft will probably still be here. At least Microsoft, like the Windows and stuff like that. Who knows? Microsoft Gaming, will always be here? Who knows? Who knows? So that is a problem. I see it. So, and also it's kind of annoying. It's a bit annoying, right? to have to log into two accounts just to play a game. If it was me, I wouldn't even buy. I wouldn't buy the game anymore, just based on that. Remember the stink that people had on Steam when they required you to log into PSN to play Helldivers 2 on Steam? So that's the same situation where you need a Steam account and a PSN account, and people are like, "Yeah, I'm gonna refund this. I'm not gonna play this anymore. Screw that." Literally, just to log in to just to have an extra login for a game, and sometimes that's all you need for people to be like, "Nah, whatever." Well, I can live without it, right? But yeah, this is a new thing. This is also going to be a new thing for, I guess, Microsoft games going to PlayStation going forward. I wonder if it's going to happen. I wonder if they're going to bring this game to like Steam or something. Is it available on Steam? I don't know. Forza Horizon Steam? Save 50% of Horizon 5 on Steam. It is on Steam. Do they do the same thing? I don't know. Might be different. But yeah, I think it's just a new issue now because it's a new Xbox game going to PlayStation. Cool. All right. Next article is just a little bit about Nintendo Switch 2. Also from Video Games Chronicle, Nintendo Switch 2 upgrades revealed by FCC, Amiibo, faster Wi-Fi, and more. It remains unclear if the new Switch will be more powerful when docked. I assume it's gonna be, as that was the whole thing about the previous Switch, is that it would perform better. It will unlock resolutions and a better frame rate if you were docked. I'd assume it's the same thing, right? But it says here, new Nintendo Switch 2 technical upgrades have been revealed via filings made by the Federal Communications Commission, FCC. So the filings reveal that Switch 2 will, like its predecessor, support NFC via its right Joy-Con controller. So this confirms support for Amiibo figures. So you can already see. You can already see Nintendo is going to be selling you more Amiibos, even more Amiibos than ever before. Even more of those Mario Kart Amiibos and whatever those are. I've never even bought a single Amiibo. I don't know. Don't really feel like it. When playing original Switch games and Switch 2 software, Switch 2 users will also be able to charge the console using either its bottom USB-C port or the new second USB port, which is located on top of the device. And this kind of seems silly to look at because, devices usually just have one USB port, right? So it's, unless it's a PC or something like that. So it's kind of silly to think about this device having two USB ports, but I think this was a big problem with a lot of Switch users because I believe that the Switch charging port was on the bottom only. So if you have a cable on the bottom of the Switch and you wanted it to stand, then that'll be a problem because it's in the way, right? But there are some use cases where people would like it on the bottom when playing, right? So I guess the solution here that they've done is just put two USB ports. Now my question is, could there be a possible other use for this USB port? Are we looking at a future where we have, like, remember during the DS days, even the Game Boy days? I'm just fixing my mic stand. Even during the Game Boy days, right? Where you had an attachment on top for like a light. You had like a light to shine on your Game Boy screen with a little attachment. Could this be a possible use for this USB port? Could you like attach something? I don't know, like a second screen? It becomes a Nintendo Switch DS? I wonder. Or maybe you attach a light as well. Not that you probably don't need a light anymore these days, but if there is a USB-C port, you can technically have a charger on the bottom, then I don't know, a USB-C powered fan on the top. I don't know. Interesting. I wonder if it's really just for charging. Maybe it shouldn't just be for charging. It should also add functionality. Who knows? Switch 2 will also support Wi-Fi 6, which is great. Networks with up to 80 megahertz of bandwidth, up from the original console's Wi-Fi 5. FCC filings also indicate the Switch 2 is rated for an AC adapter with a maximum of 15 volts, which is the same as the original Switch, but also mention an AC adapter that goes up to 20 volts. So it's unclear whether Switch 2 has faster charging speed or more power when docked. Interesting. I'm willing to believe that it'll be a stronger machine if it's docked, right? Previously had claimed that Switch 2 dock would require a far more powerful AC adapter than its predecessor. Oh. Okay. So yeah. I'm willing to there's no way that you just get the same performance in handheld and docked. There must be a thing where, like, when you dock your Switch 2, you can play in 1080p 60 FPS, right? There should be something like that. But yeah, those are some new little features for the Switch 2, which is pretty good. The USB-C one is the more interesting one. I hope that it's more than just a charging port. I hope we can get some other cool, interesting, innovative use out of it, but we'll see. I also want to see what this Switch 2, what this games here on look like docked. Are we finally gonna get 1080p 60 FPS on Switch? Like for all games or most games? Who knows? All right. But that's it for the Switch 2 news. Now, this next one is pretty exciting. It's very exciting, actually. Hideo Kojima's latest Death Stranding 2 trailer is here with a confirmed June release. A collector's edition has also been revealed for the PS5 sequels and details on a global music tour. So Kojima Productions has premiered new Death Stranding 2 on the Beach trailer and confirmed PS5 release date of June 26, 2025. And I believe this trailer was cut directly by Hideo Kojima. Because Hideo Kojima likes doing this, where he has a game and, they come out with trailers and something like that, and then he goes out of his way to cut his own trailer of the game. And I don't think anyone else does that. It's only Hideo Kojima. Because Hideo Kojima loves movies. And so, trailers are also part of the kind of movie viewing experience. Even if you don't like spoilers and stuff like that, trailers are part of the culture, right? Of film and movies. And so he's really into that. So he usually cuts his own trailer for his games. And, he did the same thing for Death Stranding 2. And they also announced a digital deluxe version, $80, and a collector's edition version for the for the game, which will include early access to the game on June 24. And this is also a thing that's been happening recently, where single player games, right, aside from the benefits you get from buying like a digital deluxe version or something like that, or or a more premium version, more premium SKU of a game, they also bait you now with early access to the game for a single player game. Because early access, not in the way, for example, Baldur's Gate 3 was. Baldur's Gate 3's early access is the type of early access where they're still making the game, and they want you to play the game so that you can give feedback and they can make it better and better and better until its actual release. But early access here in this case is more of, yeah, you just get to play the game earlier than everyone else, right? And this is only historically good for stuff like multiplayer games because of you get like open betas, right? Open betas are basically glorified demos for you to play the game. So you get like a open beta for 2 weeks or something before the game release, or maybe months before the game releases, and they basically act like early access in a way. But for single player games, it's a bit difficult because why would you need to? I mean, there's no real reason to have like a beta for a single player game. And so this is the whole new thing now, which they're like, yeah, just play the game earlier than everyone else, just for 3 days. Yeah, pay a little more to play it earlier. So that's a new thing now. But cool. Also, Kojima Productions is also announced that we'll be launching a music tour featuring music from Death Stranding games. And one of the things about Death Stranding is that Kojima really believes that the music that he chose, he is also very like surgical with the type of music he chooses for moments in the game. Like literally, he has he picked out a soundtrack for you going down a hill for the first time, and he actually like shows in the game itself like credit, like title the song, credit while you're running down a hill. When you first get your motorcycle, this is the music Kojima wants you to listen to when you first get your motorcycle. This is your third party song that you should listen to while riding on your motorcycle. Because it's one thing to have like a dedicated soundtrack made for the game, right? But it's also another thing to have like a bunch of different bands and a bunch of different music licenses from different artists and stuff like that in your game, because that costs a lot of money. But Hideo Kojima, Rockstar developer, infinite budgets, he can just be like, yeah, Woodkid, be in my game. Taylor Swift, be in my game, right? But also, this trailer is so sick. I have no idea what's going on. It's 10 plus minutes. I got an ad like 5 minutes in, and holy crap, I can't even begin to describe it to you. How good the game looks and how interesting the story seems to be, even if I know for a fact that when we get it, it's just going to be a convoluted mess that I need a YouTuber to tell me what it means and how it affects my life and how it's life-changing and how it changed my life, right? So that's pretty cool. Excited for that. And also, we need to remember that the company also announced in 2023 that's working with A24 to bring a live-action Death Stranding movie, to make a Death Stranding movie, like legit Death Stranding movie, and that's going to be pretty cool. I'm excited to play this. In fact, I will play this game. I will play the first game to prepare for the second game. I did play the first game for maybe around 15 to 20 hours. I wasn't able to finish it, but now I am going to replay it from the start and experience as much of it as I can so that I'm ready for the second game. Because the second game looks to be even better than the first. Like more fleshed out and more creatively realized than the first one. Because I feel like the first one was on a very strict timetable. Because that was a time when Kojima Productions was just first established. And they were still even looking for a engine to make the game on. and they eventually decided on using the engine from Guerrilla Games' Horizon games to make the engine on, which is the Decima engine. So for the first game, they had a lot of growing pains, right? They had a new engine to work with, they had a new team, a new studio, a new life, basically, because Kojima was let go from Konami, and he formed Kojima Productions with the help of, not really with PlayStation, but PlayStation basically had a little partnership with Kojima to help him make his first game in Kojima Productions. So, and now I feel like they have more going for them right now. They have the whole concept of Death Stranding already down. They know what it is. They already know how the engine works. They have more clout now after the first game. They got more actors. They got more actors now, and that's gonna be pretty cool. So yeah, Death Stranding 2. Can't wait. Can't wait. And now for our next article. Our next news, also from Video Games Chronicle, something very similar to FSR 4 is coming to PS5 Pro in 2026. PlayStation's Mark Cerny has big plans for the future of Sony's upgraded machine. So Mark Cerny is the chief architect of PS5, and has been the face of Sony's PS5 Pro marketing rollout. And he looks like a very smart person, intimidating. He looks like a gentle guy, but he also has a very intimidating atmosphere revolving around him, which is pretty interesting. But he is very, very smart. You can just feel it emanating from him. And I really like his story before of how he got into Sony. I think, if I remember correctly, he had a company or something like that, and he wanted to have a partnership specifically with Sony, with PlayStation. But then, I think he talked to, maybe it was Shuhei Yoshida, not sure. And he was like, okay, how do I get a collaboration with you, PlayStation? How do I join you? And I think Yoshida was like, yeah, cool, yeah, but you need to speak Japanese, though. You speak Japanese. And he was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's meet next week. And they met, and he got in. He didn't even tell the boss of his company that he was getting this PlayStation partnership. But it seems like, just from that little story, that he's a scrappy guy. Even if he's gentle, tall, and lanky, and very soft-spoken, it seems like he really was a very determined individual to get into PlayStation. And now he's currently basically the father of the PlayStation 5 in a way. And he's also in the forefront of creating technologies to make the PS5 Pro and probably the PlayStation 6, right? Exciting. Very exciting times, because he's very, very smart. But Cerny spoke in the wake of news that Sony and AMD have partnered on the Project Amethyst initiative, which is focused on delivering AMD's equivalent to NVIDIA's DLSS. This technology is similar to Sony's own PSSR tech, which is a machine learning-based upscaler. So the neural network and training recipe in FSR4 is AMD's counterpart to NVIDIA's DLSS. And what these basically do, I think, is that through AI and machine learning, not AI as in generative AI, the bad type of AI, it's more like machine learning, they can get more visual fidelity out of a video game for less resources, is basically what it boils down to, right? So it's less about brute forcing the polygons, but instead it's using these techniques like DLSS and FSR to get more out of these polygons for less brute force. It's kind of like a more elegant solution to graphics in a way. So the neural network training recipe FSR4's upscaler are the first results of the Amethyst collaboration. And this is how, for example, you can output your game at, let's say, 1080p, right? But you can upscale it to 4K in a more elegant way than just putting it on a 4K TV or something. You can upscale it to 4K to a degree that it's almost as good as native 4K, right? So that's the whole thing about these these algorithms, these upscaling, machine learning based upscalers that NVIDIA and AMD have been working on for the past like many years now. So the results are excellent. It's a more advanced approach that can exceed the crispness of PSSR. Oh yeah, PlayStation has its own, which is PSSR, pisser, people call it. So now they announced that they're working in collaboration with AMD to have something similar, maybe a more proprietary, maybe a more boutique, maybe a more bespoke upscaler made for PS5 in collaboration with AMD, PS5 Pro, and probably PS6. So our focus for 2025 is working with developers to integrate Pisser into their titles. In parallel, though, we have already started to implement the new neural network on PS5 Pro. So our target is to have something very similar to FSR4's upscaler available in PS5 Pro for 2026 titles as the next evolution of Pisser, right? So that's basically, so the upgrade to Pisser is going to be a collaboration with AMD's FSR4, right? Sorry for calling it Pisser. So it should take the same inputs and produce essentially the same outputs, doing that implementation rather ambitious and time-consuming, which is why you haven't already seen this new upscaler in PS5 Pro. So I think it's safe to say this isn't just PS5 Pro related. This is also PS6 and beyond related. Okay. So cool. Cool that, you know what's crazy is that NVIDIA is pretty much dominating in terms of, GPU market share and stuff like that, but AMD has its reaches everywhere else. So while NVIDIA has its stuff in, let's say, I think it has its, PCs, right? NVIDIA GPUs, and I think Nintendo Switch as well. The Switch use NVIDIA stuff. Wait, Nintendo Switch, NVIDIA. I think, yes. I think it uses like an NVIDIA Tegra, a custom NVIDIA processor for Nintendo Switch. However, everywhere else, PlayStation 5s, it's AMD. So, interesting. Does Xbox use AMD as well? Xbox AMD. Oh, I actually don't know. Oh, yeah. So the current Xbox uses AMD stuff. But no one knows whether the next one is going to have AMD as well. And I remember before, so this whole thing, this Amethyst, whatever, initiative, whatever, and this partnership with AMD, Intel was trying to uproot for themselves for PS5. They were trying their hardest to get this whatever partnership collaboration with PS5 for whatever processor or whatever that is, to get it instead of AMD, because Intel also has its own like stuff like that. I don't know the technicalities, honestly, but they failed. Poor Intel. All right. So next news is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle's PS5 release date may have appeared online. Also from Video Games Chronicle, Machine Games' excellent adventure is coming to PS5 soon. So Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was released on December 9, 2024 for Xbox Series X and S and PC, as well as Game Pass. And the game was also announced for PS5. However, the launch date hasn't been announced yet until this week, according to Gyro, citing French retail sources. I don't know who Gyro is. They just said Gyro here, but I'm going to guess it's one of those leakers. I don't know. No, probably not leaker. I don't know. I don't really know. The physical edition of the game will be released on April 17, suggesting the digital version of the game would come at the same time, April 17. So literally 1 month from the day of this recording. Who is Gyro? I don't know. Gyro. Let's see. Let's actually see. Gyro, Indiana Jones. Gyro. I don't know. I can't see it. Maybe a Twitter user. Who knows? Anyway, April 17, they say. It's a rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. But it was going to happen sooner or later. And I'm actually excited to play this game because they say that I didn't really think too much about the game when it was, being shown and whatever. But now that the game is released, people are saying that it's actually really, really good. And I should have known because it was being made by Machine Games. And I really love Machine Games. They made the Wolfenstein games, right? So they're good at this kind of first-person shooting type of game. But it seems that they made this game more of a what do you call this? Immersive sim in a way, right? So it's kind of still a first-person shooter, but more in the style of like Prey or something similar. But yeah, cool. Machine Games, Indiana Jones coming to PS5 probably in April. I'm excited. I'm gonna play that in April. Should also be a little bite-sized game too. It might just be like 15 to 20 hours. Easy to finish, easy to play. Probably not also super difficult. It's more story-based, so to speak. But yeah. So our next news is that the team co-developing the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is opening a new studio. Virtuos hopes to expand the reach of smaller South Korean developers with its new branch. So, Virtuos, a sports studio that has worked previously with 2K, Bandai Namco, and most recently co-developed Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, is opening a branch in South Korea. So they said that gaming is deeply ingrained in Korean culture, which is true, but I think this is the only time, like these recent years, is the only time where South Korea has really took AAA console gaming more seriously. As the world's fourth largest games market, South Korea has produced some of the world's biggest hits and remains a top gaming hub. Establishing the physical studio in Seoul enables Virtuos to directly address the new challenges faced by Korean studios, with their proximity facilitating closer co-development and collaboration. We look forward to helping bring more Korean games to the global stage and vice versa, unlocking new audiences for studios and new content for players alike. Now, this is pretty interesting because Metal Gear Solid Delta, right? At least when it was first revealed and released and the details about it were first unearthed, being a Metal Gear Solid remake game without Kojima's influence, aside from the original, it originally being made by Hideo Kojima. It wasn't really that, I really wouldn't say it was that like well received or something like that. However, with the recent like trailers and all the cool new stuff that is revealed, it seems like it really is a nice little passion project by passionate developers about Metal Gear Solid 3, and it's looking really good. So Virtuos, and also plus the fact that there are a lot of games coming from South Korea that are really good. For example, like Stellar Blade, right? Stellar Blade and Liza P. So South Korea truly is like a really hotbed for console development these days. And it'll be interesting to see what a studio that has worked with something like Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater from Korea would do with their own games. That's pretty cool. And it's also part of the new thing where a bunch of these new cool games are coming from up and coming like gaming markets like South Korea, China. I think there's also India, Middle East, and stuff like that. That PlayStation is also basically nurturing a lot these days. So that's cool. So good for them making a studio in Seoul, South Korea. Hope they can come up with something good. Hope they can cook something good. Mm-hmm. All right, now we go to another cool game that was just announced, actually, via Video Games Chronicle. Silent Hill F trailer sheds light on the first game in the series to be set in Japan. Konami's latest Silent Hill will be released on PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Konami has shown more of Silent Hill F, the 8th main entry in the Silent Hill series. Silent Hill F was originally announced in October 2022, but very little of the game has been seen since then. But this is now changed because they recently did a Silent Hill transmission broadcast, which showed that the new game is being developed by Taiwan-based studio Neobards Entertainment. The game will be coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC via Steam, Epic Game Store, and the Windows Store. But rather than its usual setting of a fictional town in the US state of Maine, Silent Hill F instead is set in Japan in the 1960s. Shimizu Hinako was living her life as an ordinary teenager, that is, until her hometown is suddenly shrouded in fog and begins to change in a horrific way. Now she must explore a town she no longer recognizes while solving puzzles, fighting strange enemies, and doing everything she can to survive in order to face the ultimate decision that she must make. This is a tale about a beautiful yet terrifying choice. Now, this is cool and all, but I think one of the major things that my anime eye, my weeaboo eyes saw is that the game is being made by Ryukishi 07. And now, I don't know much about Ryukishi 07, except for the fact that one of his works is one of my most favorite things ever, and that's Higurashi no Naku Koro ni. Higurashi When They Cry. And I don't really want to spoil a lot of whatever that is, but whatever that is, it's really good. It's really good. And apparently, he also made a bunch of other things, which I'll now try and like get to know, like Umineko. These are like visual novels, by the way, that are supposed to be really good. And because of this, I kind of want to explore more of his quote unquote discography, in a way. And this is also what a lot of people were latching onto when it was revealed, because he is going to be the writer for this game, for Silent Hill F. And honestly, I think this approach is really, really interesting, and I don't think it happens a lot, though it does happen, right? It does happen. It just doesn't happen as much as I wanted to. For example, when is the last time that something like this happened where a developer or publisher, whatever, approached someone that's not part of their company, or like I don't know if it's hired or collaborated with someone to make maybe the story or the lore of whatever the game they want to make, and they just create the game based on that story or that lore or whatever they have them write. And now this happens a lot, but sometimes it doesn't really become very prominent. But the last time this happened was, let's say, Yoko Taro, right? Yoko Taro and Platinum Games making Nier Automata. Yoko Taro is a Square Enix guy, and they were like, yo, Yoko Taro, direct this team, direct this Platinum Games team, stuff like that, in a way. They're going to be making the game, the gameplay, and you're going to go ahead and cook the story and the lore and the characters, cook it. And then Platinum Games is going to make the game itself, or at least a gameplay, that surrounds your story. Cool, right? Another one similar is Elden Ring, where you got From Software making the game itself, and then you got Guillermo, what? George R.R. Martin, from Game of Thrones, to create the lore, or at least a world that it's based in, right? We also have other kind of instances of this, especially with stories and stuff like that, but not really but they're not really like super prominent. For example, let's say Dying Light 2, the story's being made by Chris Avellone or something, stuff like that. But this is pretty interesting because Ryukishi 07 is a writer of visual novels, and he's going to be making the story for a game. And that's immediately very interesting. It'll be cool to see this. And I feel like Silent Hill can definitely benefit from a strategy like this, because Silent Hill, while the horror game itself is pretty good, at least the recent one, like the gameplay was pretty fun, its claim to fame, I feel like, isn't really its gameplay. It's both the atmosphere and the story and the characters and the dialogue, right? Now, if you can get a competent team to make a nice game, nice game with good graphics and good atmosphere, and then get like cool different writers, right? What if you get like a Junji Ito to write your Silent Hill G, right? Or what if you get like a Guillermo del Toro to make your Silent Hills? Damn. What? What am I talking about? Why did I say? Why do I keep saying Guillermo del Toro? No. Wait a damn second. Was Silent Hills a collaboration between Kojima and Guillermo del Toro? Way back when? Guillermo del Toro? I wonder. I kind of forgot. That's why I keep saying Guillermo del Toro. It's because of the Silent Hills and Kojima connection. That's why I keep saying that. I wonder. That'll be super cool though. I want a game where Guillermo del Toro made the story and the monsters. The monster designs would be so cool. But yeah, I think this is a very worthwhile path to go. You know, just take a writer that maybe is not super in the traditional gaming space, but visual novels are still games, but you know, they're not like, you know, Silent Hill. They're not like Last of Us or, you know, Elden Ring or something like that. Just take these different well-known writers, maybe well-known to a subset of people, to a niche group of people that are very passionate about it. Then bring them in and make them create a story for a big name game. I think PlayStation should do this. I think PlayStation should totally like, let's create a new IP or something and make, you know, who should they get? Who's a good like, who makes a cool story in a niche, in a very niche like thing. Get like friggin' Kodaka. Kodaka or something, or Danganronpa to make your AAA PlayStation game story. You know, stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. So yeah, I saw the trailer for this, Silent Hill F, and it looks better than real life. I'm sorry, this looks better than anything I've seen in real life. This whole creepy old Japanese aesthetic combined with the spider lilies and the red flowers, in a way, kind of reminds me also of the Hanahaki kind of aesthetic. Just take all of that and make it into a very high fidelity video game, a Silent Hill game. Damn. And now I'm hyped because the story should be good too. It should be messed up, just based on what I know about Higurashi no Nakukoro ni. Now, that's not to say, you know, maybe they were like, you know, this is going to be Silent Hill. It's more of a not really mass appeal, but it's a very popular game series. And, you know, we don't need to, while we do appreciate your messed up brain, maybe keep it down a little just for, you know, for sales reasons. Hopefully not. But I think this is a cool way to go about making stories for games, to make sure they're good, right? Unless, of course, they suddenly just make a bad story. That'd be awful. At the very least, right? The story Ryukishi 07 is gonna be interesting and maybe unique and auteur. Very auteur in a way. And that in itself is worth at least paying attention to, I think. So yeah, Silent Hill F. I think this is gonna be a splash hit. You know, it's like the meme, like like location, and the guy's like location Japan, and everybody's like yeah, right. So yeah, can't wait to play this game when it comes out. Is there a release date? I don't think so. There's no release date. So one thing about the developer Neobards, they worked on games from other classic IPs, including Devil May Cry, Onimusha, and Resident Evil Origins. So they do have some sort of pedigree to them, but it's not like, you know, it's not like they're a household name, Neobards or something like that. But maybe this is their claim to fame. Who knows? So yeah, can't wait. Silent Hill F. Exciting times for Silent Hill. If this is good, then they're basically 2 for 2 with all their modern Silent Hill stuff. Unless you count the short message one. A lot of people hated like Silent Hill short message, if that was a thing. Short email, short message or something, whatever it is. Short transmission. But I really like that. because it also uses the flower motif as well. It was really good. Okay. But that's it for Silent Hill F. And in one of the more interesting PlayStation things this past 2 weeks, I guess this week, right? PlayStation is partnering with People Can Fly on a mystery game franchise. People Can Fly is building a prototype based on a PlayStation IP. So People Can Fly are the developers behind Outriders and Gears of War Judgment. And it seems like this Poland headquartered studio is going to enter into... Now, here's the good thing about this, right? Here is the good thing about this that Sony failed in when they got the guys who made Concord to make Concord, is that the way Sony usually does things is that they kind of partner with studios here and there and fund a game to be made by them. And then, once that game releases and it's good and people liked it and they sold a lot, a respectable amount, Sony is usually like, okay, let's make another game, right? We're going to fund your next game. It made us money. It's pretty good. You guys are talented. Let's make your next game. And then they make the next game. And usually the next game is pretty good, right? Maybe better, and stuff like that. And then this relationship continues on until PlayStation is finally like, we've had a long relationship already making games. How about we buy you right now and we welcome you to the PlayStation Studios fold? That's usually how PlayStation does things. But they stopped doing that for some reason with Bungie, right? PlayStation was like, Bungie, I know you made, Destiny and I guess Halo. But we haven't really had a project that we've worked with together. But you know what? We trust you. Let us buy you right now. And let's make cool stuff together. And now Bungie is one of the biggest friggin' flops when it comes to at least the merger acquisition the PlayStation has ever had. Because they just can't get something out. I mean, Destiny 2 is fine, but they just... There's nothing really of consequence that Bungie has released since their acquisition way back when, right? Aside from Destiny 2, which is just okay. Mm-hmm. They're currently working on a Marathon, but aside from that, what? Their leadership sucks. I mean, the leadership has basically been mostly replaced by PlayStation executives anyway, at this point, because they suck. They've been bleeding money, and nothing good is really happening around there. And now what PlayStation has been doing recently is that they've just been taking like talent out of Bungie and then giving them, and then creating a new smaller studio out of it. And then nurturing that small studio to make something. That's what they've been doing recently. And I think they also got a few more like talents from Bungie and are just gonna, hey, let's make another team out of this. But so this is interesting because now we see the old PlayStation again, where they're like, okay, let's partner with you, People Can Fly, and let us hire you to create a game based on one of our intellectual properties. And let's see how it goes from there, right? No outright buying before testing the waters. Just let's work together for a small project. Maybe this is not a small project. Who knows? It's probably not going to be a $400 million project. Probably not, right? So yeah, I don't know. I honestly do not know what it is that they're going to do, but looks like they're going to work on a PlayStation IP. What does that mean? There's a bunch of dormant PlayStation IP that could come back. Maybe it's just something like, I don't know, Loco Roco. Or maybe it's something like freaking What's a PlayStation IP that's Legend of Dragoon? Probably not. Probably not. But we'll see. Let's see. Interesting. It's an interesting time that we got this again from PlayStation after so long. So, yeah. People can fly. Oh. Well, but based on what they made, though, Outriders and Gears of War Judgment, they also made Bulletstorm. Bulletstorm is one of my favorite games. I love that game so much. So I'm hopeful about this. Hopefully it's good. Next article is more evidence points to impending PS5 version of Starfield. Now, Starfield is one of the recent games from Bethesda Game Studios, who makes, Bethesda better known for making Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And these, again, are historically Xbox exclusive because Bethesda is an Xbox studio, right? However, wait, no, they're not Xbox exclusive. In fact, they're multi-platform. However, Microsoft acquired Bethesda, and now the expectation is that Bethesda games are going to be Xbox exclusive because that's why you purchased the whole studio, right? But Starfield is one of those games that did not release on PlayStation. It just released on Xbox, PC, Game Pass, and has not made the jump to PlayStation. However, recently, further potential evidence has emerged that Bethesda's Xbox console exclusive Starfield could be coming to PS5. On Friday, users spotted that a creation posted on Starfield's user-created content library had a PlayStation logo on its list of available platforms alongside Xbox and PC. This content was soon removed, but archived on Reset Era. A PS5 port of Starfield has been expected ever since Xbox shared its vision of the future of Xbox a year ago, where it confirmed that Sea of Thieves, Hi-Fi Rush, and more would no longer be Xbox and console exclusives. Other former Xbox exclusives have also been ported to PS5, such as Forza Horizon 5. And now, in November, Microsoft's Xbox gaming boss Phil Spencer said there were no red lines regarding what Xbox titles would come to other platforms. Then, when asked if Starfield would come to PS5 in January, the executive dropped further hints it could yet come to other platforms. He even said, no, there's no specific game. There's no reason for me to put a ring fence around any game and say this game will not go to a place where it will find players and have business success for us. So this is just it. Like the PlayStation logo just showed in one of the creations for user-created like Starfield creations that implied that it was also going to release on PlayStation. And that's it. And honestly, my thoughts about this, of course, of course it's going to release on PlayStation. I feel like there's no way this is not going to make the jump. Because Starfield, in a way, is like, at least the initial hope for it was going to be Bethesda's new Elder Scrolls, Bethesda's new Fallout, right? Starfield was supposed to be that game. Like if Bethesda was gonna go forward with three big games, three big names, it's gonna have Elder Scrolls, which is its fantasy game, Fallout, which is its post-apocalyptic game, and then Starfield, which is its space sci-fi, kind of game, futuristic sci-fi space game. I think that was supposed to be the vision, and of course they want more money. They want to get more money from this game that they made. And I feel like by releasing this on PS5, that would guarantee like maybe a few million, maybe. Because, Bethesda still has that brand power, brand recognition. When people are like, Bethesda, ooh, I played Fallout 4 on my PS5, my PS4 long ago or something like that. They're going to be like, oh, new Bethesda game available on PlayStation Network, PlayStation Store, let's go, let's get it. Right? And they'll sell a lot of copies just based on, brand recognition, brand power. And who doesn't want free money, even if it's on PlayStation, right? Yeah, I think it is coming to PS5. It's just a matter of when and how. Not a why anymore, just when. Not an if anymore, just when. So cool, interesting. We truly live in strange times. The next article is here's an interesting one. Horizon dev promises it isn't trying to replace Aloy actress with AI. Now, Sony has been working on an AI prototype of a technology allowing players to interact with virtual characters and have them respond to speech and engage in conversation. An example leaked online and promptly nuked through various copyright strikes showed a player chatting with Aloy from the Horizon franchise. Ashley Birch, who voices the heroine, has since shared her thoughts on the demo. But basically, now, honestly, to me, this whole possibility of an NPC being someone you can actually have a conversation with is exciting and interesting, even if it uses AI to do it, right? I think I remember there was this kind of prototype of a game, not like a full game, that uses text to speech. You know, it uses the usual like voice banks that they use for text to speech, and applies that to an AI system, whatever, that makes them respond to your statements to them, to your questions, to your whatever you say to them in a GTA like world. So I saw someone using a microphone and they're like, "Hey man, what's up with you? How is life?" And then I don't know, maybe with some modifiers you can say that the AI is depressed, right? And then with the usual text to voice like features that they use, it uses that to talk, but the actual like response is kind of like Chat GPT, but maybe with a modifier that the NPC's depressed and they're like, "Oh, I feel like I'm gonna jump off a cliff today," or something like that. And then they engage in the conversation more and more, and then the NPC just keeps replying and saying new things, which is very unlike what we have right now, which is like maybe 3 to 5 canned responses that just keep repeating over and over. And I think that possibility of having an actual NPC that you can talk to and respond specifically to everything that you say in a unique way is exciting. However, in this case, it used um, the voice, of a voice actor, because this character played Aloy in the Horizon franchise. And honestly, I am very against using AI to kind of replicate someone's voice and use it in different ways. Like, I think there's a whole thing where people create like AI versions of, I don't know, characters that they like, and they kind of feed their voice lines to an AI, and the AI just uses that voice to create like responses or something like that. And honestly, I really don't like that. I don't like it if there is no like express written permission from whoever artist, actor, voice actor did that. But for some reason, people are just fine with taking a person's voice and feeding it to an AI and just coming out with, you know, replications, whether it be like a song cover, right? I've seen a bunch of like, for example, a Hololive VTuber. They're like, "Ooh, yeah, let's take their voice and make a song cover of them singing this other thing that they've never sung before," right? While sure, it's fun, I think you should also have permission from the person who owns the voice to do that, because who's to say you're not using that voice for something else, for something bad, you know? And I think that was the issue here, because although she played the character, um, it's although her Gorilla did assure her that the demo didn't reflect anything in development and didn't use her performance at all, neither the facial capture nor voice data. She still stated that she feels worried about the industry itself because, at least Gorilla is this studio that is like funded with PlayStation's like with PlayStation's bank account to make their games. Now, who's to say that, a studio that's more strapped for cash wouldn't just use AI to generate, like, I don't know, images or voices, or take someone else's performance and just feed it to an AI to create new performances that weren't there before. And I think that's a good worry to have, because it is kind of becoming a reality, like, step by step, where you're just seeing AI on, like, video games. I think there was that game, what was it? Foam Stars from Square Enix, where they're like different album covers or CD covers, and they're all just AI generated. Of course, if a game studio doesn't have budget for getting a bunch of artists to make specific things that they want, there's no one stopping them from just getting one guy from their team and be like, okay, just do some prompts in an AI and just print it out. It's fine. Right. But yeah. So this is a legit concern. Even if Guerrilla Horizon did reassure Ashley Birch that they're not using any of her data for it, it's still an issue for the industry at large. And hopefully, we can find a solution to it. Because honestly, just the cynic in me is like, nah, we're just gonna see a future where even if you look through that just a PlayStation store, just look at the PlayStation Network store, and there's so many games, so many simulators that released recently. Like, just in the past few days, you can see a bunch of simulators or a bunch of AI copies of existing games, like mouthwashing. I don't know. There's probably like a game called Mouthwashing Infinite or something, and it's just an AI generated image or whatever, and AI generated assets. It kind of sucks. But I do like this possibility, though, of having an NPC character you can talk to. But if it's just gonna steal people's voices to do it, then I don't know. I'd rather just not have it, right? It reminds me of a thread that I saw on Twitter of, like, there was an artist who was looking at an image. The image was beautiful, right? The image was not like the typical AI slop that you see, right? The image was very, like, artistic in a way, right? And they were wondering about a certain detail in the painting about, I wonder why they added this little detail to that. I wonder what the artist was thinking when they were adding this thing. Is this like a cigarette smoke thing that's flowing up? I wonder what is it? Now, what's going through the artist's head? What are the feelings when they were making this? And then he delved more into the origin of that art that he's looking at, and then he found out it's AI generated. And that's when his thought process of finding out what it means to stop, because it's AI, right? It's just a computer. There's no real reason that it did something like that. There's nothing. There's nothing to glean from it. It's just ones and zeros that were like, let's create this special squiggly lines on the left of this image, right? There's nothing to take from it. And the thing I got from that thread is the cool thing about art, right? Is that when you look at a nice piece of art and you look at it, it's kind of like you're having a little conversation or dance with the art piece itself. You're kind of having a little conversation with the artist itself. Like, what were you feeling when you were making this? What am I feeling when I'm looking at this? And how does it relate to what you were feeling when you were painting this? What was going through your head? Even, like, if you see like a beautiful portrait of, like, 2B from Nier Automata, right? Just by looking at it, you're like, damn, this artist really loves 2B. This artist loves all the polygons in 2B's butt and made it so very detailed and so nice, right? It's kind of like that, right? You get something from art created by humans. There is a story there, even if it's not like, even if it's not deep. You can feel the artist's touch on an art piece. Whereas if it's a computer that generated, because just a little computer ones and zeros with these are the prompts, make that. Yeah, here's the art. It's not the same. It's not the same. And it kind of sucks when you're trying to glean some deeper feeling from the painting, and then you realize it's AR art, and then you're like, okay, that's the end of it, I guess. There's nothing here. There's no real reason why this was made this way by the computer. It's because, somebody inputted the words, and then the computer's like, let's put this and this and that, and then let's just piece it together, and that's it. That's the art. For what reason is it here? Because someone told me to make it, and I didn't really put any of my own input into it, So yeah. Don't do this. Don't do this, please. It's cool technology. It's cool, just for coolness sake, just for it being interesting and like, whoa, huh? How can technologists do this? It's interesting in that way, but it's not. It just isn't deep. It's not deep. It just kind of loses the humanity in art or something like that. I don't know how to best explain it. That's what I feel about it. So yeah, don't do this to your voice actors, PlayStation. Don't do it. Don't do it. We already have Xbox making AI generated games. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. Next up, we had a few more small news items. Just a few. We don't really have a lot this podcast anyway, though we are already running 1 hour and 30 minutes, which is kind of surprising. But we'll probably reach around 2 hours, maybe. 2 hours-ish. Which is just around the same amount as before. I think the previous one is 2 hours 45, but we'll see. But yeah, PS Plus members can now use their PS Portal like a legit retro handheld, because PS1 and PSP games are now available to stream, though. To stream. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. They're available to stream. But anyway, Sony has once again expanded the number of games available to stream on its PS Portal handheld, including support for over 50 PS1 and PSP titles, like Wild Arms, Everybody's Golf, and Twisted Metal, that you can play via streaming. And there's also like third-party titles like Disney Pixar's Up and Worms Armageddon. Oh no, it doesn't include those. It doesn't include those. But yeah, it doesn't include every PS1 PSP game. It doesn't include like Up and Worms Armageddon. I guess probably like third-party licensing issues, probably. But this is interesting because PS Portal is proving to be the best-selling gaming peripheral in the US. PS Portal, this streaming device. You can't play games natively on it, but people are buying this and having fun with it because it lets you remain engaged with your PlayStation 5 no matter where you go, right? It's an engagement like device. Engagement being, for example, you're just in your room, and your PS5 is in the living room, you can still play it, right? You're halfway around the world, you can still play your PS5 via streaming on your PS Portal. And a more engaged customer is a customer that pays more. A more engaged customer that finishes games and plays more games, right? And I think this PS Portal handheld initiative that they have is really giving them a good return on investment. Maybe not specifically with money, but at least with research about gaming, about gamers' habits and everything like that. I think there was an article before that said that PS Portal users play more games in the evening, which is, which makes sense, but it goes to show that they're using this in bed before sleeping, right? and they're playing games in bed before sleeping, which they wouldn't have if they didn't have it. Maybe they're the type of people that are like, it's already evening. I'm not gonna stay in the living room. I'm gonna go to my bedroom. And if they didn't have the PS Portal, then they wouldn't be playing games. They wouldn't be finishing their games, and as a result, they wouldn't be buying more games. So this is really like this is a hit for PlayStation. I do want to get one, but my Steam Deck is actually pretty good when it comes to its remote play capabilities. My only problem with the Steam Deck is the control interface of it. I would love to have a Steam Deck remote player with the DualSense form factor as a control scheme. And that's why I would like to get the PS Portal. But, I already have the Steam Deck. It works fine. I just have to suffer through its like heaviness and its controller and its control scheme, whatever. And also plus the fact that it can play games natively on it. So like for example, if I'm outside, I can just play games natively, and that's a thing it has over the PS Portal. But also the Steam Deck is also much more expensive than this. I think the PS Portal is like $200 and Steam Deck is like $400, $500, right? This mic is making me crazy. This mic stand. Okay, there we go. So yeah, PS Portal doing good. But you know what else is doing good? For some reason, PSVR2. 6 major PSVR2 games announced as headset gets huge price drop too. Life in the device yet from Push Square. So PSVR2 has gotten a price drop actually recently. And I think it now only costs like $300. Wait, PSVR2 price drop. So there was an article here like many months ago. Sony saw a rise in PSVR 2 sales by 2,350%. After a $200 price drop, right? And I think recently, February 27, 2025, there was a new price for PSVR 2. It now costs $399. It was previously like 500, I think, and now it's $400. And this puts it within the ballpark of the Quest 3. Because the Quest 3 is $500. PSVR 2 is now $400. However, there's a new Quest 3S that's $300. And so in a way, PSVR 2 is now one of the more affordable VR options. And I believe it now has hand tracking, like hand tracking without controllers. It now has that. Plus, now you can also connect it to a PC and play your PC VR games on it. So by buying a PSVR 2 at $400, which is $100 cheaper than a Quest 3 and $100 more expensive than a Quest 3S, right? You can play PS5 games, which a Quest cannot do, and play PC VR games. Because there's actually a bunch of PS5 VR exclusives. And fortunately for me, I have a PSVR. I have a PSVR 2. I played with it recently. It's pretty good. I've only played like demos and stuff. I still have yet to test it on my PC. I might do that this week or next week. I'll test it with PC. I'll test it with... There's a game I really liked on my Oculus Quest, like original Quest. And it was Star Wars Squadrons. That was really good. So yeah, I want to try PSVR 2 on PC soon. But anyway, they got a bunch of new games made by the Flat 2 VR studio. And just based on their name, I'm gonna guess they turn flat games into VR games, maybe. So they just released, they just announced Autosite VR, Postal 2 VR, RoboQuest VR, Shadowgate VR, Surviving Mars Pioneer, and Wrath Aeon of Ruin VR. Anyway, a bunch of new games for this device that people thought was just not gonna be supported anymore. Because I remember a few months ago, PlayStation was also like, hey, we got 6 more new games, by the way. And now today, they're like, we got 6 more. So looks like PSVR2 might be alive and well and doing great. So yeah, hopefully. I think VR is pretty cool. It's a bit difficult to get into, but I have a feeling it's a worthwhile investment into as compared to like 3D. Remember 3D TVs? Those weren't really too interesting to me. But I feel like VR could be a worthwhile investment because VR isn't just used for, games. Like, it isn't just being used as a way to consume things. It's also being used in many other different applications. One of those is, for example, VTubing, right? VTubing. Everyone all VTubers are basically craving for a VR headset to buy. And these VTubers who buy VR headsets are also like, they have a lot of money, probably. Because they're going to be investing in like mocap suits, in mocap solutions and everything like that. Now, if you can get those to buy your PSVR 2 instead of, the typical stuff they already have, if you can get more features in there that they'll like, then you get that audience as well. Then also, there are other applications of this, medical, educational. There are many applications of VR that 3D TVs just didn't have going for them. So, pretty cool. And I think that's it for our just small little PlayStation related news. And I think we should move on to just a few RPG news. Role-playing games that I really love. So we just have a few RPG-related news. Not a lot, but pretty interesting still. As iconic RPG Chrono Trigger turns 30, this is from Video Games Chronicle, Square Enix promises commemorative projects. Fans have requested a remake of the classic RPG for years. Square Enix has said that it plans to release various projects related to Chrono Trigger to celebrate the game's anniversary. So the RPG turns 30 this year. And to mark the occasion, Square Enix has announced that it will launch several projects around the franchise. It's unclear what these projects will manifest as, be that a new game, merchandise, or release of the original title on new platforms. They said, as we mark the 30th anniversary, we'll be launching various projects that go beyond the world of the game over the next year to express our gratitude to everyone who has played Chrono Trigger so far. So please look forward to it. Now, just the way that this is worded makes it seem that they're not really going to do anything like super substantial. Maybe they're going to do stuff like, it says beyond the game, beyond the world of the game. So maybe there's going to be, an art book. Maybe there's going to be a concert. Maybe a YouTube video of like a playlist of music, stuff like that. It really seems to me that it's just going to be probably that. But who knows? We can dream, right? Though, to be fair, Chrono Trigger, I haven't actually finished the game. Chrono Trigger is one of my greatest shames of being an RPG fan, along with me having not been able to play a bunch of the Trails games yet. I've only played Trails of Cold Steel and Trails in the Sky, the first one. I really want to play more of those. But Chrono Trigger, I have played like maybe 3 hours of it. I remember there being a festival at the very beginning of the game, and then I couldn't really get past that first part. or I did get past the first part, but I wasn't able to continue at all. In fact, I feel like I played it on an emulator before, like on a PC, on my uncle's PC from long ago. I don't think I even had a legit way to play it. So I played it on an emulator, and the emulator was very finicky, so I wasn't able to like play it like fully in a more comfortable way. So I've actually been thinking maybe I should just go ahead and play it, like just start it from beginning to end. Let's just go through it. I might just do that on Steam Deck. Who knows? This would be a good game to play on Steam Deck, honestly. Like, not even remote play, just natively. I might just do it. So yeah, Chrono Trigger, 30th anniversary. There's going to be some various projects related to it. People have been asking for a remake, but I don't think it's coming. Maybe in the far future, but maybe not now. Who knows? It's been 30 years. I don't think they... We'll see. And also, now that Akira Toriyama passed away, didn't he make the designs of this game? Didn't he make like all the art, character designs as well? So what do they plan on doing if it's a remake? Do they replicate the style? I'm pretty sure there is a person there somewhere. There's probably thousands of people that can honestly 100% faithfully recreate Akira Toriyama's style, but still, it's not going to be Akira Toriyama in the end. That's going to be doing all the new art if they make a remake for this. So I wonder if they were to make a Chrono Trigger remake, are they going to replicate the style or just bring it to the new world and like do a new style of their own, or an evolution of it, or an iteration of it? Doesn't have to be better. Doesn't have to be exactly the same. Could be like a side, just a little bit of an upgrade, so to speak. Maybe taller character. But we'll see. Chrono Trigger, 30th anniversary. I might just play it. I might just go ahead. I have a hankering to play like an old RPG, and this might be it. Okay. So then this next article from RPG site is Nippon Ichi Software reveals multiple game projects, including new RPGs codenamed Curse and Kyoran. Now, Nippon Ichi, known for this Gaia, amongst other things, right? This Gaia. And they basically announced a bunch of new games, a bunch of new projects, and two of them are pretty interesting. They're RPGs. Curse, one of the most relevant titles revealed for us, is a dark dungeon RPG codenamed Curse. And the player will assume the role of an adventurer who will be tasked to rescue a town surrounded by curses while exploring dungeons with secret treasures. But even inside the dungeons, the player can also get inflicted by curses from the likes of enemy attacks and treasure box traps. However, while the curses obviously come with debuffs for the player, there will also be high-risk, high-reward situations where they can return to the town while retaining the curses to have those purified, and in turn making the protagonist grow much stronger. That's pretty cool. There's also art connected to these. They look really nice. But this other one is also interesting. It's called codenamed Kyoran, which will be an action RPG for PS5 and Switch in 2026. This one has the most profound relation to this Gaia series, as the team will include Takehito Harada as a character designer and Tenpei Sato as the composer. Shinsuke Minowa, who had also worked in Disgaea 7 Vows of the Virtueless, will be the person in charge of the game's development team. So it's not just there that the Disgaea influence comes in. It's also the fact that this game is going to have elements from Disgaea where it's going to have 4-digit levels and 9-digit damage numbers. You know how in Disgaea you can get crazy and have like 9 damage, right? Pretty cool. The player will become a mercenary tasked to beat multiple monsters while befriending some of them in the process, with a gigantic boss lying in the wait at the end of each stage. The befriended monsters can also be utilized as additional weapons by the protagonist. They also announced Shinigami Hime, project codename Shinigami Hime, action adventure game for PS5 and Switch in 2026. Pretty cool. I mean, the art is beautiful. It's made by the same artist who made The Liar Princess and The Blind Prince and The Cruel King and The Great Hero. Cool. They also announced Furaiki 5, a motorcycle travel-based visual novel. Motorcycle travel-based visual novel with actual backgrounds from Japan's Mie Prefecture. Huh, interesting. Gobble, a side-scrolling action coming to PS5 action game coming to PS5 and Switch in 2025, and Renzu, Chain Curse, a horror visual novel slated for release on PS5, PS4, and Switch in summer 2025. So Nippon Ichi looks like they're coming back in a big way with a bunch of new games. Pretty cool. All right. And then lastly, for RPG news, is going to focus on Atelier Yumia, which has a demo coming out on March 16, which is exactly today from the day of this recording. That weird save data transferring to the final game once you finished it. And Atelier Yumia is the newest game in the Atelier series, and it looks, honestly, I am so into this. I am so into the character designs. The main character design is so, it's so good. The other characters surrounding the main characters designs are also really good as well. They have a more adult kind of art style rather than the more cutesy art style of the games that came before it. The gameplay also looks like it's going to be more real-time action rather than turn-based, which is a plus for me. I do love my turn-based games, but I feel like for Japanese games, where it's very over the top like that, I feel like real-time action would be cool. And also just to bring Atelier into the modern era, I think it being real-time action will appeal to more people rather than it staying like turn-based and stuff like that. So Atelier Yumia looking really cool. I'm so into this. I'm going to be playing this like immediately as fast as I can. I'm in it. And they also have a collaboration with Tales of Grace's F, where they give the main character the outfit of the main character in Tales of Grace's F, which is pretty cool. Asbel is his name, and God, that's cool. I love my Tales. So it's cool that it's getting a little Tales collaboration. It looks like Atelier Yumia might be its biggest like entry yet. Atelier Ryza was so big for an Atelier game. I think that's when it started reaching the more of the mainstream consciousness in the JRPG space. But I think this game is where it's gonna blow up. Yumia is gonna blow Atelier up, and it'll be interesting to see the future of Atelier moving forward. But it's about time. Gusta's always made these Atelier games, but I don't think they ever really became super popular. They do make money off it because it has a very like dedicated Atelier audience, right? It's niche. It has a very defined niche and serves a certain player base very well. But I think this is the first time where I'm like, damn, this is appealing to me now. After so many entries, this is the one that appeals to me. So, can't wait to play it. Atelier Yumia. Yeah, that's it for the RPG news. Not a lot really to talk about. Yeah. And so I guess I should just go to what I'm currently playing in terms of games. Last time we talked about Kingdom Come Deliverance and Balatro. But today we're going to be talking about Monster Hunter Wilds, and I'm not really going to spoil a lot. I'm not really also going to talk about it as much at length, just because I have only played up to the end of the main story. So Monster Hunter games, I've only actually ever played Monster Hunter, the first Monster Hunter on PlayStation 2. I played that, absolutely abhorred it. I couldn't. It was an impossible game to play. Then the next time I played Monster Hunter was Monster Hunter World, which I really liked, but not too much that I finished it. I didn't even finish it. Then I played Monster Hunter Rise, and that I finished that one because Monster Hunter Rise I feel like is the most like accessible. It's the easiest, most accessible, most bite-sized Monster Hunter, with also kind of like very easy mechanics and very beginner-friendly mechanics and systems that make it less frustrating than a usual Monster Hunter game. So I loved Rise, finished that, and then I went back to World. and ended up liking World more than Rise by a mile. Because now that I know how Monster Hunter works because of Rise, going back to World makes me appreciate that, oh, this is a more hardcore Monster Hunter experience than Rise. And I can imagine that the previous Monster Hunters before World were even more hardcore experiences, but World just has that graphical fidelity with it as compared to the other Monster Hunters. But yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds is the newest entry. And in the beginning, I thought it was going to be an evolution of World in a way. What ended up happening is that Monster Hunter Wilds is not a direct evolution of World. It's more of a combination between World and Rise in many ways. So, and I can't help but feel a little disappointed. But don't get me wrong, the game is really fun to play. I think gameplay wise, it's the most fun out of all the modern Monster Hunter games. It's also probably, if Rise is the easiest Monster Hunter, modern Monster Hunter, then Wilds is just one tick lower than Rise in terms of easiness, right? It's not a difficult game. Though I am saying this with the perspective of having only played the first, finish the main story. So this is all just low rank monsters. But even then, when I was playing World, right? When I was playing World, the monsters felt pretty difficult. They took long to beat, right? And the path to get to them also was pretty difficult as well. Now it wasn't like super difficult, but you had to earn your way to find these monsters. So you had that kind of difficulty on top of the actual difficulty of the monster. Whereas for Wilds, they did away with the finding monster thing. Which is why I really expected Wilds to be more World than it is Rise, but in a way, Wilds is more Rise than World. The thing I loved about World is the care that it put into making you earn finding a monster. Sure, it was just a matter of following your scout flies to pick up samples from the soil, from the trees. Maybe there's saliva on the floor. Maybe there's a paw mark on the mud, or a scratch on a tree, or the scent of a monster on a surface like that, and then you collect it, and then you gain more knowledge about what the monster's patterns are and what their behaviors are, and then eventually you get a lot of knowledge, and that you figure out where they are, right? Where they likely are. And that was a whole thing about World. It was really nice because you were interacting with the world a lot. Now, when Monster Hunter World came out, that part was actually what I did not like. It was the whole build up towards getting to the monster. Because my only goal when I first played World was I just want to get good at the combat. I want to fight monsters, right? But then when Rise came along, Rise gave me that experience where you just load into the instance, load into the world, and then the monster is already on the map. All you need to do is go towards it and fight it and beat it, and that's it, right? But there's one thing that was missing when I played Rise, and that's the actual interaction with the world. I was going through Rise without even picking anything up. Sure, I was picking things up while I was on the way towards a monster, but I wasn't immersing myself in this world. There was no real reason to go the left path or the right path when I could just go straight towards the monster. And when I went back to World after Rise, that's when I appreciated the method to the monster, the method to find the monster. I was getting familiarized with the type of slinger things that you can get, with the type of items you can get to craft things, what things looked like, what things um did, right? What items that you picked up in the world did, what their effects are, what happens if you kick this toad thing, it does that. Whereas in Rise, the only thing I really wanted to do was, if I saw like a flash bug thing, I just slash that and then, ooh, there's a big flash, and that's it, right? So now Wilds has the same problem as Rise, where there's no real reason for you to interact with the world. They even take this a step further, because at least with Wilds, at least with Rise, there's you had to control your what is it that you rode there? Anyway, you rode your dog or something, your mount. But for Wilds, you don't even have to control the mount that you're riding. Your mount will just automatically go towards the monster. You can just leave your controller on the table and wait until your ride goes to the monster, and then you start fighting it, right? And then when the monster runs away, you can just ride your mount, and then your mount will just naturally know where to go. And I was especially taken out of the experience when the monster ran away, right? It ran a certain direction. Let's say it ran to the right. Now, if I had full control of my dog, or whatever it is, the sacred, then I would follow it towards where it went, to the right. But what happened was, my dog, my sacred, upon the leaving of the monster from the premises, my dog went a certain direction to the left. And I was like, oh, sacred, what are you doing, bro? Where are you going? The monster went to the right. And then the sacred went to the left and took a scenic route and was able to get to where the monster was going to be before the monster arrived. And I get it, right? I get it. That's pretty cool. In a way, that's pretty cool. However, it took me out, because I was like, damn, I didn't even figure this out myself. One of the things that would have been cool is, like, I had such a mastery of the world and the map that when I fight this monster, I know that one of its places that it'll retreat to is this, like, part above a waterfall or something, and I can find my own way towards there. Maybe a shortcut, maybe another route towards it, and stuff like that. But in Wilds, it took me out because I just had to watch the screen, not pressing any button, and then the sacred would just go towards where the monster was gonna be in 5 minutes. It just knew where it was gonna be. And sure, that's fun in accessibility terms, but it took me out of the immersion. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, right. You know that the monster's gonna go here because you're a computer that knows that the programming of monster wants to go here. Exactly, right? So that took me out. I don't like it. I don't like that part. I don't like how it just holds your hand towards finding the monster, unfortunately. So whenever I can, I try and turn off the auto run of the sacred and just go around and explore the map. Now, when I explore the map and check out all the nooks and crannies and all the little caves that you can go in, it's fun, right? But then it just goes to show that it doesn't matter. It just makes you feel that it really doesn't matter. It makes me feel like all these other areas are just there for you to harvest materials, right? They're just there because there's a certain material here that you can farm, and that's why this place exists. If you want to farm it. Whereas in World, you can say this place exists because this is one of the places the monster likes to visit. Maybe the monster pees here. So that's why this place exists. So you can go here and then check all the clues and the things that the monster has done to this place to figure out where the hell the monster is going to. But in Wilds, these other places that are not just a straight path to the monster just exist for, I don't know, for materials, for items to get, for slinger shots to get and stuff like that. And that's a big unfortunate thing for Wilds. I don't feel engaged in the world. The gameplay is really good. The gameplay, however, introduces a new aiming mechanic, like a focus strike mechanic thing, and it makes the game hilariously easier by a big percentage. Just the fact that you can aim your weapon anywhere you want to at any point in your attack, at least from my experience, just makes the game just so much easier. Even if you're wielding a heavy, big ass heavy weapon, you can just change the trajectory of your slash like in between attacks to where you want to hit. So there's it kind of trivializes the whole experience that you have where you're like whiffing your weapon because it's too heavy and the monster is too fast and you're already slashing in one direction. It's hard to change positions to slash like 180 degrees behind you or something like that. It loses that, but it also you instead gain a much tighter combat system, so to speak. I'm a charge blade user, and as a charge blade user, that was one of the things that you had to deal with in Monster Hunter World and Rise, is that when you're attacking, you sometimes you just find yourself like slashing, doing your big ultimate slash thing in a direction that the monster is not in because they were too fast, right? It's one of the things that's one of the payoffs to using a big, heavy weapon, is that sometimes you just miss. But in Monster Hunter Wilds, it's difficult to miss, especially once you've gotten the hang of the aiming system. It's kind of difficult to miss. There's no way. They also introduced a new mechanic, which is the wound mechanic thing, where if you hit a certain point of the body enough, it'll open up a wound, and then when you target that place in the monster's body, you can trigger a very specific like animation, which differs per weapon, that will instantly, at least most of the time, like knock down the monster. And when the monster is knocked down, you can just wail on him for the next like minute or so. And so that with the aiming system on top of the wound system, like weak point system, makes this game hilariously easy. Sometimes even easier than Rise. Because at least here's the thing. I wish the aiming system and the wound system had a cost, is what I think would have been better. If there was, for example, if you had a stamina system which dictated the amount of time that you can aim your weapon, or the amount of attempts you can do at hitting a weak point. If there was just a cost, I think that would be good. Like a stamina cost, a point cost, whatever it is. Because as it is right now, you can just infinitely aim wherever you want, and then you can just infinitely try and hit that weak point with your focus strike as much as you want. You can just keep spamming it until you get it. And there really is no downside to doing it. Whereas even for Rise, with its whip, you kind of, what was that? What was that? Whip fly? I don't this kind of whip mechanic, this grappling hook mechanic. There's a cost to it. You can only use it like 3 times. You need to wait for the cooldown to regenerate, and you can't just do it over and over, right? You can. In fact, it goes up more often than you need, but still there's a cost to it. Whereas for Wilds, there's no cost to using all these new shiny toys, new shiny gameplay features that makes the game very easy. Now, disclaimer is I just played the low rank hunts. I have yet to do the high rank hunts, so I will come back to you maybe next week with further thoughts on the difficulty of the game. Now for story. I didn't really care much for the story, honestly. I like the cutscenes. The cutscenes were big budget. They were amazing. But the story, I'm not going to spoil the story, but let's just say that the characters weren't interesting to me, as usual in Monster Hunter games. And the story, while fun, while good, it's way too short. And it's paced way too fast. It's like, oh, you get to the payoff immediately, like to the end of the story immediately, because it just wants you to get to the high rank, like immediately. And I don't know what about it, what about Monster Hunter Stories that makes it just so unappealing. Like they try their best. I can see that they're trying their best to create a story that you'll care for. In fact, I feel like they want you to engage in a story that they made to care for them, because that's more merch opportunity. Like if you get like a really cool character, then you want to buy more of their merch and stuff like that, right, or whatever. Even if the merch really is the monsters, but still, right? There is a benefit to having cool characters. Like, for example, Cloud and Sephiroth, right? 30 years, 20 plus years later, people are craving for like Sephiroth underwear or something. I can feel their effort with trying to make a good Monster Hunter story. It's just the gameplay loop is way too good that people are just like, including me, are just like, let's just get on with this and get to the next hunt, right? And I feel like that problem is very specific to Monster Hunter, because the gameplay is just so good. The feeling of fighting a monster, then carving, then making a new piece of armor, a new weapon, that gameplay loop is so tight and so satisfying that people are willing to skip the story for it. I've seen many streamers are like, chat, I'm just gonna go skip because I want to get to the new monster. I get to the next monster. I'm sorry, right? And I get it. The gameplay is just that good, and it's a weird problem the Monster Hunter has. Is it really a problem? I don't think so, because if the reason for a player going to your game, playing your game is good, then there really isn't nothing else to complain about. But still, I would like to see a good Monster Hunter story. I feel like a good Monster Hunter story should be very grounded in its world and in the limitations a hunter has. I feel like the stories are always too grand so far. Like with Zora Magdaros in World and whatever it is in Rise that you were trying to solve. I think you were trying to solve something. I forgot. And then now there's this big ass monster clone thing, whatever. They're always too grand for my liking. Now, if the story was more like, oh, let's just help this village, like figure out this monster problem that they have, right? And let's just do research about this monster. Let's see what's going on. What makes this monster tick? What can we use against them? And then just methodically go through that process until you get to the monster and make the monster like really incredibly difficult, unless you use the things you learned in the story. That'd be pretty cool. And just do that over and over. That'd be great. But yeah, Monster Hunter Wilds graphics kind of suck. Now, fortunately, I got a code from Capcom. I got the Digital Deluxe Premium, whatever code from Capcom for Steam. I would have wished they would have given me a PS5 copy, but the PC version just sucks, man. It just sucks. I don't know. It doesn't look good. It's not a good looking game. Like, it looks good when you're fighting a monster and doing the gameplay and just things are flying around and whoa effects and stuff. But once it starts slowing down and just walking around and you're looking closely at things and you're trying to immerse yourself in the world, and there's so many cracks, so many flaws. It looks awful. The first area is a desert. Is a bland brown desert with nothing in it. The performance is really bad as well. I don't know. Apparently the PS5 Pro version is really good. I wish I could have gotten that, but whatever. But thank you still for the code, Capcom. But yeah, I think that's it. That's most of what I'll be talking about for Monster Hunter Wilds. I'll probably come back in 2 weeks to talk more about the high rank situation and getting to all the monsters in high rank and see how that feels. And I might be talking about Chrono Trigger. Who knows? who knows what I'll be talking about next week. But yeah, I've been playing that Monster Hunter Wilds. Cool. I might also start Death Stranding, so that's gonna be fun to talk about. And lastly, for our last piece of news, as we just wind down for the rest of this podcast, an interesting article, PlayStation, Xbox related, is that PS6 could be the only high-end next-gen console, as new Xbox is touted to be a PC in essence. Massive report reveals Microsoft's plans. So, in the aftermath of Windows Central reporter Jez Corden's previous comments, more details are beginning to emerge about Microsoft's next-gen strategy, and they couldn't possibly deviate further than Sony's. According to a monstrous exclusive report by The Scribe, the Redmond firm will partner with another manufacturer to release an Xbox-branded handheld later this year. This will presumably be PC-based, and will be used to demo some of Windows' new features. Interesting that it's, just going to be a Windows thing. It's a dramatic departure from Sony's approach with the breakaway success of the PS Portal. The remote play handheld streams games on PS5 and is positioned more as an accessory. It's been a bestseller around the world. Now, Corden doesn't specify who's making the aforementioned Xbox branded handheld. I think we have information from another article about this. But basically what we're getting here is that its new handheld is going to be more PC. He implies that whatever Xbox is cooking up will be closer to Windows than ever, insinuating this may not be a traditional console. I mean, they're talking here about a new console as well, aside from the handheld. That the new console is going to be closer to Windows than ever, insinuating this may not be a traditional console, but effectively a pre-made PC instead, that may be able to run Steam and Epic Game Store. So that's the rumor right now, is it's going to be basically a PC that can run Windows. It's going to show off Windows features that can just basically maybe run Microsoft Word if you want. So, interesting. So, in that way, this is what the article is concluding, that PS6 might be the only traditional high-end console next generation. Because, we're talking about high-end, and the Switch 2 isn't exactly that. Switch 2 is fun, but it's not exactly on the cutting edge of console technology, which usually is where PS5 and Xbox kind of occupy. Now, if this is going to be more of a pre-made PC, can you upgrade the GPU? That'd be cool, maybe. But then why won't you just get a PC? God damn it. It's always this kind of argument. But anyway, yeah. I think this is the time for Xbox to try something new. Now that they're deviating away from the console space, like actually manufacturing a console with Xbox exclusive games. And I think people are theorizing that this might be the next generation might be the last generation where we have an Xbox console. Unless, of course, this next one does really good. But if this is the last one, then might as well just be experimental with it. Make it a PC. Just give people the freedom to play their Steam games on it, Epic games on it. That'd be interesting. Game Pass games, everything. Make it very customizable. Make it basically a cheap PC that performs maybe better than its counterpart PC if you made it yourself. That'd be great, I think. But in regards to the first portable Xbox, I don't know if these two articles are related, but the one was from Push Square and this one is from Video Games Chronicle. But it says here, the first portable Xbox could reportedly hit shelves this year. And it's being built by Asus. Asus built Project Ken and reportedly aims to offer a universal library of Xbox and PC games. Now, this is making me feel like they're trying to go the direction of a Steam machine. Because if I remember, for example, with a Steam Deck, right? It's not like the Steam Deck is the only portable out there that can play Steam games. You have like the ROG Ally, you have the Lenovo, whatever it is. So maybe this is the way the Xbox handheld is going as well. There's going to be like multiple flavors of Xbox portable handhelds that are going to be made by different companies. Like, for example, this Asus one, it's probably going to be a Lenovo one, a Dell one, a ROG one. But that's also interesting because that's also the space that Steam is in with its Steam Deck and its, the ROG Ally and all that stuff. So they're going to be competing with Steam, and I don't know. Can you compete with Steam in its own place? So on the console area, they're competing with PlayStation. On the handheld area, they're going to try competing with Steam. I wonder. But that's according to The Verge, which claims that Microsoft is working on a handheld with manufacturer Asus called Project Cannon, which aims to offer a universal library of Xbox and PC games. Asus' Xbox branded handheld could debut later this year, it's claimed, but because any such launch is reliant on Microsoft platform work, timelines could change. The platform work is reportedly codenamed Project Bayside and aims to deliver a common Xbox UI across multiple devices to help combine Windows and Xbox. So it's going to be a handheld that's Xbox branded, probably going to use whatever Windows OS they're making for Xbox instead of, Steam OS, so to speak. So it's just another handheld, but using a different OS instead of Steam OS or whatever, or uses Windows. I don't know. Will this work out for them? We'll see. We also know PlayStation might be working on a handheld as well, right? All I know is the handheld scene is going to be fire. It's going to be great in the coming years. I can't wait. I love my Steam Deck so much, but, when I upgrade, who knows what I'll buy? Another Steam Deck? A Steam Deck 2? An Xbox portable? Or a new PlayStation portable? We'll see. But the best thing I like about my Steam Deck is that it can remote play my PC games and my PlayStation games. That's its biggest strength to me. For example, the PS Portal, I think the PS Portal can only do PlayStation games. Maybe you can mod it to be able to receive Steam remote play games. But as for now, the only thing I know is it plays PlayStation games only. And I really value that flexibility that it can play PC games for a Steam Deck, can play PC and PS5 games. And that's why I also value my PSVR2, because it can play PSVR2 exclusive games and PC VR games. So that's going to be a big sticking point for me. And so, yeah, that's it for the news and for this week's podcast episode of episode 4, Triangle to Win. And I hope you enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. Not a lot of heavy news, but there are some things that we can get really excited about, like Death Stranding 2 and Silent Hill F, and a lot of these plans of these console manufacturers and PC and whatever that are burgeoning and about to be made into reality soon. That's pretty exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna eat because I'm pretty hungry. I don't know what I'll eat. Maybe a banana. But yeah, if you want to support the podcast, again, patreon.com/triangle to win. Thank you. There we have a few supporters. Thank you. The clips, there's been a big delay in the clips because I've been very busy. I hope to get more shorts and clips out there soon, so we can just get more eyes on the podcast. It's not that I want more people watching, because this is more just a little passion project for me to get, my thoughts out there with these games and gaming news, because I really have no one to talk to about this that basically aligns perfectly with my interests. I feel like more people are talking about Pokemon Like, I feel like most of the people around me love stuff like Pokemon, Zelda, things like that. I'm like, oh, I don't. I don't. And so this is just my outlet for my love for like PlayStation and RPGs and all this games industry stuff. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'll still do some clips, so we can just reach more people who maybe are looking for this specific combination of things as well. But yeah, that's it for me. Thanks so much for watching. And I'll see you in 2 weeks for the next episode of Triangle to Win.